What is up? And today we're going to be talking about conditioning, everything conditioning. So, how you can actually get in great shape, get shredded, lose fat, and improve your performance. I'm Nick Ladd. I'm a certified strength and conditioning coach. I'm the owner of the program, Peak Performance Program, co-owner of Athlete Academy, and I work at Chaffey College as a strength and conditioning coach. So, I've seen hundreds of athletes. I've worked with MMA fighters at some of the top levels, amateurs going into pro. And if there's one thing that people mess up the most that is severely holding them back from either having the performance they want in their competition and in their game, it's got to be their conditioning. They're just completely doing it wrong. So I'm here to share with you what to actually do instead. So most people and most coaches F this up. So when we are talking about conditioning, people will often look to really get in great shape, or they maybe add conditioning in, or what is like fat loss training, and they'll do it in the completely wrong way, because your conditioning and most importantly, your fat loss should be a byproduct of how you train to perform at a very high level. That's not to say it's something that you can't want, but if you are training the correct way, that is going to happen for you. You just need to make sure that some of your nutritional aspects are taken care of as well, which I have another training about that. If you're interested in that, just comment below or check out the links below and you'll be able to see that. So if your goal is to get stronger, more powerful, and in better shape, you need to be doing that stuff in the gym. But to get in, we know that we will have certain methods that can really help get us strong, like the contrast method or doing some sort of conjugate method. Or for power training, we know that our lifts need to be somewhat heavy to moderate, and we need to be moving fast, low volume, and super high intensity to help get us more powerful. But we don't break down the conditioning and how our body actually works the same way. We think maybe we'll just go and run a bunch of gassers, or we'll go for countless miles and just run and we'll get our cardio up. Well, this is the quickest way to not see the results that you want. So our body really has 3 energy systems, and we need to understand that these energy systems are vital for how you perform in your sport. Okay. So our first one is called our creatine phosphate, or it's also known as alactic system. So you'll see that later in the presentation when I go over the energy system cheat sheet for you. But this creatine phosphate system, this is like your primary energy system for very fast, very explosive, powerful movements. So like a 3-rep, power clean, for example, where you're going max effort. It's less than 10 seconds of total work. And it's right there for you. Okay. Then we have our glycolytic system. Now there is fast versus slow, which we'll get into a little bit later, but this is your main energy system for moderate to high intensity, fast movements. I know it says fat right there, but it's fast movements. Okay. And an example is going to be like a 200-meter sprint, or like most play durations in a sport. So like football or something, where it's like 20, 30, maybe upwards of 45 seconds of a really long play, but anywhere from that 30-second range. Okay. And then the last one is called your beta oxidation. So this is your energy system that's long, slow, low intensity movements. And this is typically the one that we are training when we go for our long runs, or we're using during just average walking around, doing things like that. Okay. So how do these systems work? So it's based off your intensity, the duration, like I mentioned before, and then your overall conditioning and how you've trained yourself to determine which one you're going to primarily use and help kind of shift over a little bit. But this doesn't mean that one is on and 2 are off. They're all working kind of synergistically together. It's just one's more focused depending on your intensity and the duration of it. So let's look at the graph right here. So we have on the left-hand side total energy expenditure, okay? And then on the bottom, this would be like our duration, or you can see across the top, it's 0 to 0 seconds, 60 seconds, 120. So that ATP CP means the creatine phosphate or alactic system. So it's really like 0 to 10 maybe, and then it really starts to decline. You're probably getting the last of it for I would say up to like 15 seconds, right? It's quick, it's highly explosive, and it's going to be predominantly a majority, if not all, of your energy expenditure. Now, as you start to go into a longer duration, so 15 seconds, 20, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, right? Now we're using that glycolytic system. And for most athletes, we are right in this area right here. We're primarily using the creatine phosphate and glycolytic system. And then the last one is the oxidative, right? So that's like burning fat. That's the low, slow intensity. And the longer and longer you go, the more percentage of your energy comes from there. Okay. Now, in most sports, we have quick bursts of explosive movements, and then we recover from them. So we need to train this area over here versus if we're just going and trying to get our cardio up. Okay. This is how it all works together, and we need to be training and conditioning our workouts and how we're working out. They should match how you compete. Okay, so over here on the right is our energy system cheat sheet. You can take some time, pause this video, screenshot it, look at this. Okay, it goes over work just means how long. Okay, work to rest ratio means if you are training for 1 minute, then you would do a 1 to, like on this example, the aerobic capacity, a 1-to-1 means you would work for 1, rest for 1. Okay. Intensity, pretty self-explanatory. And then if you were to do exercises in the gym, what it would roughly equate to with the volume and the sets there. Okay. So take some time, look through that. We'll be referencing that later. But aerobic just means with oxygen. So that's our beta oxidation. That's that long, steady state one. So if you're looking over here on the right, you can kind of see how that correlates. Anaerobic just means without oxygen. So that's like our glycolysis or glycolytic system. And then we have our anaerobic alactic, which is just that creatine phosphate system that we talked about before. So each of these systems can be trained to either have a greater capacity or like a bigger engine, a bigger fuel tank. Okay. And then they can also be trained to have an increase in repeat power. So that means that you can put a higher amount of effort consistently over and over and over and recover faster and faster over that. So that's primarily where we want to spend a lot of our time, as that mimics more of what we are doing. And this is why the MMA type and the combat sports fighters that we see get great results, and they notice like, oh, I wasn't as tired as my fight. I felt like I could keep going. It's because we really train their repeat power in the anaerobic system, because that matches what they're doing more so in the event than just slow, long, steady state cardio. That is how we start to increase your conditioning and get you actually better at what you're meant to do. Now, each of these has a energy system, right? We talked about that, and an energy source, and then somewhat of a matching training stimulus. So you can see on the top right here. Okay, so on the left, this is what we went over before. So our creatine and our glycolysis, our beta oxidation. So, and then on the right, we have our different training systems. And then in the middle, we have our energy sources. So in our creatine phosphate system, or the alactic system, it's our creatine. It's right there in the name, right? That is what we're using primarily for that type of movement. So your creatine is stored in the muscle. It's readily available. It's quick ATP, which is just another name for energy after it's broken down in your body. And this is really how the creatine supplements work. They give you more of what you're already storing in your body, so you can recover quicker in between your sets and in between your workouts, to recover so you can push harder, have more power, get better quality sets, better quality workouts, and then you get the results from that, which is typically greater strength, greater muscle, greater power that we see from that. Now, our Carbohydrates, that's our glycolytic system or our glycolysis. And all glycolysis means is that you're using carbs to break it down into glycogen, which then provide us energy. So our carbohydrates or our glycogen is stored in our muscles and it's stored in our liver and is another source of really readily available energy. And this is why having carbs prior to training and competition is so crucial, because that's the primary fuel source you're going to be using along with some creatine in there. But that's the primary one you're going to be using as your competition goes, 2-3 minutes, right? It's that repeat. It's not like you just deplete it and then it's gone. Okay. You have some stores and you can continue to use that when the intensity is high. And then pretty much sports and life and anything you're doing there, the intensity is going to be pretty high until you get gassed, right? And we're trying to avoid that. And then the last one is our fats. So fats, right? They're stored in our body, all of our fat cells, and we have plenty available for us. Like even a pound of fat is going to provide you enough energy to last you the entire day. And most of us have 15, 20 pounds, where that would be, equal to running like 50, 60, 70, hundreds, maybe even hundreds of miles, right? We have plenty of this. So there's plenty available energy in our fat stores. They do take the longest to convert into energy, but they do provide us the most amount of energy when it comes back. So that's why the beta oxidation doesn't really kick up until we get into the 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. It's because it takes a little bit of time for our body to actually break those down for ourselves. So one thing that I want to mention with this is that if your goal is to lose some fat, right? A lot of us think like, oh, we just need to like go for some super long runs or do a lot of cardio. So that's not necessarily the case. It can be beneficial for some people that are really focusing on that. But in my opinion, and what I've seen the best results with, is just continuing to train for primarily the two major ones, the creatine phosphates, or our power, and then our glycolytic system. So when we do, essentially this would equate to like some interval type of training where it's super high intensity and then we recover. When we do this, we put our body in like hyper mode where we're trying to use a bunch of energy, but we necessarily don't have the oxygen yet, which is part of the beta oxidation, to provide us that energy. So we create an oxygen deficit. And after we're done with those type of workouts, we have to repay this oxygen debt. And that oxygen debt keeps your caloric burn higher for the next 24 to 48 hours. So you essentially turn yourself into a little bit of a fat burning machine, as cliche as that sounds, over the next 48 hours, which will lead to a higher caloric burn. And if your goal is to lose weight, we should know that you simply need to burn more calories than you ingest. So this is one way you can help with that. And another benefit is, you can see why I'm so on the interval and the primary first two energy system types of training for conditioning, is that doing the high intensity type of work will also have a bonus effect of increasing your aerobic capacity and actually help you with some of that longer duration stuff. Okay. So how do we train based on our goals? So if your goal is to just get in great condition for your sport, the thing you need to do is determine which energy systems you use in your sport. So like I mentioned before, most of us are in those first two energy systems, the 0 to 60 seconds, where we need to have some sort of capacity built up for that. And we also need to have some sort of repeat power. And then there's a little bit of the aerobic type beta oxidation that's going on. So how do we do this? So we determine what that is, right? Then we are going to do either 2 to 3 times a week of conditioning. These can be separate workouts for yourself. They can be done after your sports training, or they can be done after a workout. Okay, just right down at the end. You're going to do one mixed modality focused training on like focusing on your capacity. So building that bigger fuel tank. Okay, and you're going to do one focused on repeat power. So both for the anaerobic repeat power, and you're going to eat at a calorie maintenance. Okay, so we need to provide our body enough fuel in order to handle that as our goal, and our body will adapt. We won't be necessarily losing weight because we're at that maintenance. We're keeping our strength as high as we can. We're keeping our muscles on our body, and we're just getting in really, really, really good shape. Okay, what if your goal is to get shredded? So as mentioned before, like just doing the type of conditioning is going to create a huge calorie burn overall. So all we really need to do is focus on eating a caloric deficit. Okay, so you're going to do 2 to 3 times a week of conditioning. Again, same thing can be done after workouts. It can be done as standalone training. These workouts should really only take anywhere from 12, maybe upwards to 20-ish minutes. And that's if you're kind of more on that endurance type of training. And you get in, you get out, you go hard, and you get the results. And you just make sure that you eat in a caloric deficit. So again, it's one mixed modality metabolic conditioning that you're going to focus on that capacity, one focus on repeat power. And then the caveat to this is to get the extra calorie burning, working off that fat, is to just hit 10 to 20K steps a day. That extra work is going to help you burn off and you'll be using fat as a primary fuel source during that low steady state walking that you're going to be doing. And then eating in a caloric deficit. So many people think that they need to be in a huge calorie deficit. They overemphasize on, I'm going to restrict 1,000 calories or 1,500 calories because I'm going to lose weight super fast that way, which is true, but you'll burn yourself out. You'll adapt metabolically, and you'll end up ruining and repeating the cycle of gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight. So that's why I recommend that you simply do a 200 to 500 calorie deficit, and you're looking to lose about 1 pound of body weight per week. So if you're someone who's 230 pounds like me, that would be 2.3 pounds a week, and it will adjust as you lose weight over and over and over again with that. And if you want to learn a little bit more, I am doing another training which you could check out about the athlete approach to losing weight, where I go over a specific method to help you lose weight and keep all your muscle on, and we create a calorie deficit in a different way. Okay, and then the last way to get shredded and get in shape. So say you need to get in shape and you're trying to lose you're trying to get in great shape, you're trying to lose a little weight. Again, determine which energy source you're going to be using in your energy or in your sport. You're going to do 2 to 3 times a week in conditioning, one mixed modality, focus on capacity, one focus on repeat power. And then instead of eating in a caloric maintenance, you're going to eat in a caloric deficit. If there's one thing I want to harp, it's that there is no real training for fat loss. Okay, fat loss is a byproduct of what you are actually doing and then the nutrition to back it up. So for me, I would rather focus on getting stronger, getting more powerful, improving my speed, explosiveness, getting in great condition, and then eating accordingly to get all those results plus the fat loss. Okay, it really comes down to how many calories you're getting in and how many calories you are consuming. So all this sounds great, Nick, but what does this look like? So some examples of workouts. So a mixed modality, okay, over here on the left. This could be one that you do in a gym, right? It's more, it's not like as much running or anything like that if you don't like running, okay? You can see the exercises: sled, rope, pull to a push, heavy D-ball over the shoulders, sledgehammer swings. So mixed modality, all that means is that we're going to be eventually hitting a little bit of all 3 of those energy systems, okay? This example, due to the reps that we are doing and the rest that you're getting, it's going to be more working on a little bit of the repeat power and the capacity more so with this. If it was more repeat power, we would have a little bit less on the reps just because you would be able to produce a higher intensity and then recover from. So you'll be getting a little of that repeat power, but it's more on the capacity. And we're doing an EMOM here. So an EMOM just essentially means every minute on the minute. So most of this is going to be about a 1-to-1 work to rest ratio. And in the beginning, you're going to be using the primary 2 energy systems. And then as the rounds go on and on and on into that like 3, 4, 5 rounds, then you're going to start to pick up on some of that beta oxidation and contribution from your fat. But our intensity in the actual exercises we're doing is going to help shift it back over to those first 2. Now, what about like quick repeat power? I want to be able to sprint, recover fast. This is what a lot of people end up doing in their sports. So an example of this is just a warm up. In the beginning, we're looking at the middle column, but one thing that you can do, so this is going to be repeat power, and you're going to get a little bit of the capacity. It's a 10 by 10 shuttle sprint. Okay, all that is you mark 10 yards or 10 meters off, put 2 cones, and you're sprinting down and back till you hit 10 total 10-yard sprints or 5 down and backs, and you should be able to finish this within, I would say, 15 to 20 seconds. So we're right on the edge of that capacity and repeat power. And the last one is more of an aerobic capacity. So say you're in soccer or you're just looking to build your endurance and stamina a little bit. Again, you're going to get that with the other ones, but this is going to primarily focus on the energy system a little bit more. Okay, we're in the 3rd column on the right. It's a warm up and then what's called a figure 8 run. And all a figure 8 run is essentially where you're going to go to a field of any size or shape, mark off about 50 yards or 50 meters. You can even extend it to the full field if you want to get it a little bit longer. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be sprinting at 70 to 80% of the diagonals and jogging and recovering at a low, steady state on the straightaway. So you're just going to make a figure 8. So it's sprint, and then it's going to be sprint, jog, okay, sprint, jog, sprint, jog. If you need a little bit more recovery, you can sprint, jog the long side, sprint, jog the long side. So those are 3 examples of the different types of conditioning. Inside of the Peak Performance Program, we have an entire protocol built out for different conditionings. They're conditioning built inside the actual workouts that you get every single month. And if you want some help and you want to get started in doing some more athletic-based training or taking your conditioning to the next level, I highly recommend that you sign up for your free strategy session. What you'll do is you'll click the link. You'll fill out a quick questionnaire, answer some questions for me so I can help you better on our call. You'll book your call and we'll hop on and we'll discuss about a strategy for you and see if the Peak Performance Program would fit for you or not. If you're like, dude, everything you said sounds like what I want right now, you can go ahead and there's another link below that. You can just get signed up right now for the Peak Performance Program. We'll jump on our onboarding call. We'll get everything situated, dialed in, and we'll get you your app. We'll get you all set up, and we'll get you ready to go and start working out. So hope this was helpful. Drop a comment below if you have any questions. Please make sure to like this video, share this video with anyone who needs it, and I will see you in the next video. See ya.